I'm Will Ortner. This is Chargers Now, and we're going to talk about some positional needs for the Los Angeles Chargers, specifically that edge rusher position, because the Chargers, they do have a hole to fill there. Who could this team go out and get in NFL free agency? I've got 5 names that I want to talk about on today's show. Now, remember, at the time of this recording, all of these players are still NFL free agents. Is it possible that maybe one of those guys got signed a little bit after we filmed the video? Yes, but at the time of recording, those players are all NFL free agents. Make sure that you sound off in the comment section. Do you want the Chargers to go after a veteran edge rusher in NFL free agency? Yes or no? If you say no, do you want the Chargers to go after someone in the draft? Or do you want them to just not go after anybody you like the edge room as it is? Just make sure whatever you do, voice your opinion. It's okay to have it. Just voice it down below in our comment section. The reason why I believe that the Chargers need to go after another edge rusher is because, well, you lost one of the guys who was key in your rotation. Odafe Oweh, he is no longer with our favorite team in LA. He is now a Washington Commander, and the Chargers are going to have to supplement a lot of the things that he did really well, specifically getting after the quarterback, with another edge rusher, in my personal opinion. An edge rusher that the Chargers could go after, and the number one guy that I believe has potential on my board is a man by the name of Cameron Jordan, a.k.a. Cam Jordan, formerly with the New Orleans Saints. Now, he's in NFL free agency. Obviously, the Saints have a ton of interest in Cam Jordan. They would like to get him back in New Orleans, but there is no guarantee right now where he could end up. I think that the Chargers can make a gigantic play for him. When I look at Cam Jordan, all the different things that he's able to do is what makes him great and what would make him great for this Chargers team. He can get after the quarterback still while also being a fantastic run stopper. Now, I know in 23 and 24, they're not the best seasons for Jordan. I was told from our Saints host, Trizzy Trace, that was more so of a coaching thing. He didn't necessarily get along with the defensive line coach over there in New Orleans. Obviously, this year, he drinks from the fountain of youth. A ton of tackles, a ton of TFLs, and most importantly, a double-digit sack guy. It's clear to me that while Cam Jordan is a little bit on the elder side of that edge rusher position, he is still very clearly a player that can make an impact in the National Football League. When we look at the type of defenders that you're going to want in this defensive scheme, defensive coordinator O'Leary is going to want to make sure that he has edge rushers that can play everything. If you want to talk about a critique of Odafe Oweh, he was not necessarily great in being a run stopper like a Khalil Mack is. And I'll tell you right now, Cam Jordan can easily add into that. He can help push along some of the other edge rushers as well, help Thule continue to grow into his role. Cam Jordan still has a ton left in the tank, and I think he would be a fantastic addition for this Chargers defense. The next edge rusher that I want to talk about on today's show, Jadeveon Clowney. Now, I find Clowney very, very fascinating because when you look at his skill set, it still feels like, as good as he is, which is a very solid pro edge rusher in the National Football League, I still feel like there's a little bit left in the tank for him. Now, obviously, not a ton of tackles last year with the Dallas Cowboys, but he still showed he has that elite pass rushing ability and was able to get after the quarterback in a big way. I think that Clowney can really grow in this defense because the Chargers are going to ask him to take a slightly smaller snap share than maybe some other teams have asked of him in the past. And what Clowney can do with that slightly lower snap share is give more of his best and his top-notch ability every time he goes out on the field. He doesn't have to worry about taking a play off here, taking a play off there, so that way he can save what he is doing. When we look at his stat line, he did a fantastic job of getting to the passer. Would like him to do a little bit better in the run-stopping game, but at the same time, with the Chargers, not to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but they do have players that can do a fantastic job of setting that edge and stopping the running plays. And then he would fit more like an Odafe Oweh with this team where you're really just adding in his pass rushing ability. He's going to fit in really well with the Chargers because we've seen him play in multiple versions of this type of defense. He played in Baltimore under Mike Macdonald, who is obviously the head of this defensive coaching tree. Underneath him is Jesse Minter, and underneath Jesse Minter is defensive coordinator Chris O'Leary. So we know that Clowney can play in this defense. We know that he knows what he needs to get done in this defense. I think he would be a great addition to this team. Make sure that you hit that sub button. We've got you covered for all of the latest news and rumors around the Los Angeles Chargers. You don't want to miss out on anything that we've got going on here on the channel, so make sure that you hit that sub button. Next player that I want to talk about is a man by the name of Kyle Vanoi. Now, this might be an interesting signing here that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, because Kyle Vanoi is not necessarily going to be your household name when it comes to that edge rusher position, especially since he is a player that has slightly taken a step back in the last year or so. But when I look at a guy like Kyle Vanoi, we know that he fits into the scheme that you want to run. Another guy who played for Mike Macdonald when he was in Baltimore, so he knows how to fit into this scheme and into this system. Last year, not great. I'm not going to sit here and cap. I'm not going to pretend that Kyle Vanoi had a good season. But Vanoi can still add in to this defense. Again, he's going to be much more like Odafe Oweh, where he's more of a sack artist. He's not necessarily a run stopper. But when we look at his 2 previous years in this same system with a much better defense around him, he's damn near a 10-sack guy in both seasons. One year he ends up going over. So when I look at Kyle Vanoi, I still feel like he can fit into this defense. He fits into the need that the Chargers have. But what I do think is most important about him is that he's a veteran leader that can help push Thule along as he continues to grow into being a better than serviceable edge rusher in the National Football League. In fact, in my opinion of Thule, I think you're talking about a guy who's not just a Pro Bowler, but potentially an All-Pro as well. And Vanoi can really help him get pushed along in that growth. Next player that I want to talk about, let's talk about Von Miller. I feel like you can't make a video like this without including Von Miller, although I will be honest with you, the more and more that you look at Von Miller, if he's not out there on 3rd and long, that is a mistake. But if he's out there on anything other than 3rd and long, that's also probably a mistake as well. When we look at Von Miller, he's someone that does a fantastic job of getting after the passer, although at this point in his career, he's not really someone that's going to be able to be an every down guy or a big stop guy. Last year in Washington, he did a fantastic job of still getting after the quarterback. He would be an even bigger version of Odafe Oweh in this Chargers defense, and by that I mean he's literally only going on the field to get sacks. I don't love the decision to sign Von Miller with the Los Angeles Chargers because at this point I think he's too old. I think at this point, Von Miller is just trying to hold on to the National Football League as long as he possibly can. And I don't fault him for that, man. I held on to football as long as I could, too. I contemplated going and playing for the Billing Outlaws in the IFL. I get it. At some point, it's just time to hang him up. And in my opinion, Von Miller, it's time for you to hang him up. I don't know that I would want him in LA. That being said, the Chargers did sign him. At least you know you're getting someone who can definitely get after the passer still. Last guy that I want to talk about is a man by the name of Hassan Riddick. Now, Riddick is a player that had a couple of years where he really exploded and popped off, so much so that there were a lot of national media members, there were a lot of local media members in Philadelphia that were very sad to see him go. I do think that Howie Roseman is able to get away with a victory on this one because Hassan Riddick, the stats just haven't nearly been as good. Now, obviously, he was dealing with some games that were missed this last year in Tampa Bay, but it's also important to include and to note that he's not that far removed from being a double-digit sack guy in the National Football League. 11-23, 16-22. That's not that long ago. Could he come in? Again, he's going to fill more of that Oweh role where he is only in to get after the passer, and if he makes any plays in the run game, well, that's just an added bonus. But when I look at Hassan Riddick, I still think he could be a good option despite his lack of ability, I should say, to get after a edge-setting team and be able to set an edge, because when I look at Hassan Riddick, he can still get after the quarterback. And right now, when I look at this Chargers defensive unit, you need a good rotation. You need about 4 to 5 guys that are going to be able to come in and play out, and do good things for this Chargers defense. Now, when you look at guys like Von Miller, Kyle Vanoi, and Hassan Riddick, they are more going to be that edge rusher who's trying to get after the passer. They are not going to add in nearly as much in that run-stopping style of edge rusher that this defense necessarily wants. That being said, you can still see a lot of success with that type of edge rusher in this defensive scheme. Cam Jordan, Jadeveon Clowney, specifically Cam Jordan, but Jadeveon Clowney a little bit as well, they are going to have the ability to be more complete edge rushers, which is what I do believe that the Chargers would prefer for this squad. I'm going to ask you, though, down below in the comment section, which free agent edge rusher do you want the Chargers to sign? Let us know down below in the comment section. It could be one of the 5 guys that we brought up in today's video. It could be someone completely different. Whatever you do, just make sure you sound off whatever your opinion is in that comment section. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel as well. We have the Chargers covered throughout the year of 2026. We're going to be building towards the draft, and you don't want to miss out on any of the videos that we have here talking or discussing anything draft related. So make sure that you subscribe, you tune in, and you help us, by the way, get to that 3K subscriber mark. Thank you guys so much for viewing today's video. I hope you bolt up.